Oppo has some pretty interesting smartphones in its Reno lineup, and in Nepal they have recently launched the Oppo Reno2F. At first glance, I was particularly intrigued by the looks of it because it is one of the very few smartphones to come with a seamless, no camera bump design at the back. But these days, the upper mid-range smartphone segment is very competitive, so can the Reno2F stand tall among them? I will answer that question in this review, but before getting started, I would like to give a big shout out to the sponsor of this video, XVPN. It's a VPN service to secure your online privacy and access blog sites. It's high-speed, secure, and anonymous. It's available on Android, iOS, Windows, Mac, and pretty much everywhere. So if you guys would like to know more, I will leave a link in the description below. So now let's get started. Well, when it's about designs, I can hardly remember times when Oppo did it wrong, and I feel like the Reno series, among other things, nails the design aspect. I mean, the back is so minimalistic and seamless that the aesthetics look very good, and it feels good on the hands too. The green color I have looks bold and classy, and Oppo has this distinguished green thing going on in the power button, which I like. It's glass back with metal frames, so durability won't be a problem, unless you drop it. The buttons are placed in a reachable position on both sides. Down below is the headphone jack, and just beside it, you find the USB-C port and a single firing speaker grill. The fingerprint sensor is there on the front, and in display 1, which is super fast, upwards you only find a pop-up camera hiding inside. So the design is something that has impressed me a lot. As I said, it's minimalistic, it's handy, and all I can say is that this is one of the best designs I have seen so far. The display looks equally good. It's a 6.5 inches AMOLED screen with 19.5:9 aspect ratio and a full HD resolution. It's clean because of the pop-up camera. Those thin bezels also add to the niceties. The good thing is that it has an anti-flicker mode to reduce the effects of PWM dimming. If you are unaware about what PWM dimming is and how it is harmful to us, you can check the link right here. Now, since this is an AMOLED screen, you get an always-on display feature, which I like keeping on, although it chugs my battery a little bit. Onto the core of the display, the colors are quite good. The contrast levels match my expectations, and because it's a notchless screen, I have loved playing games and watching my favorite YouTube channels. One thing though, I have always wished for more brightness in the display while using it outdoors. So sunlight legibility isn't that great. Indoors, you will have no problems whatsoever, but outdoors, you definitely wish for more. However, what I have loved about the phone is the cameras, and Oppo is always known for having compelling cameras on their smartphones, and the Oppo Reno2F is not going to disappoint you. I even compared its cameras with the K20 Pros, which I will talk about later, but right now let's get into the specs of the Oppo Reno2F's cameras. And like with all the mid-range phones these days, you get 4 cameras at the back. A primary 48 megapixel quad Bayer sensor, then there is the 8 megapixel ultra wide angle lens, third we have a 2 megapixel depth sensor, and a final 2 megapixel mono portrait lens. First off, what this mono lens does is help the black and white portrait images look good. Here are some samples of it. And if it helps you understand, it's the same like what was there on the A9 2020, which we reviewed a while back. And though I really don't understand the purpose of it, it's there. Now, the ultra-wide-angle images are good looking and nice. There's a slight color shift in the wide-angle images from that of the normal ones, but that should not be a problem considering the images look good anyways. The normal images have a good balance of colors and saturation. Most of them have a cooler tone to them, but it really depends on the situation. The HDR function works well, which is a thing I like and dislike at the same time because it works very properly in the shadow areas, whereas it tends to make the colors look slightly unnatural. However, in the end, what matters is how the images come out, and it's not bad at all. Details, on the other hand, are well preserved too. Selfies are something that I have liked a lot about the Reno2F's cameras. They look natural and very pleasing. The HDR in selfies works very well too. You get a mixture of good colors and good skin tone in the images. You also get tons of fun stickers like this one, so it's really interesting using this camera when you're bored or something like that. By the way, you get these stickers in the rear cameras as well, and we had a lot of fun with this actually. There is also something called Dazzle Color, which is basically the AI mode, and what it does is not only enhances the colors, it makes your photos a little more dramatic, as you can see. Now, portrait images are not bad, but not very good either. I must say that I have missed a telephoto lens here, as the portraits from K20 Pro's telephoto lens have better subject focus. Check out these samples here and decide for yourself. Now that we have started comparing, I did an extensive comparison of the Redmi K20 Pro and the Oppo Reno2 and was surprised by the results. For some reason, I had a feeling that the Reno2 is not going to stack up well against the K20 Pro, but in fact, it did. From the normal images to nighttime images, both the phones perform similarly. In fact, in some scenarios, the 2F has done better. As I already mentioned, the Reno2 does a commendable job preserving shadow details. So when compared to the K20 Pro, the HDR shots were much better in the 2F, as the K20 Pro fails to have good dynamic range. However, sometimes the HDR on the Reno seems more aggressive than it should be and messes with colors in the images like I mentioned earlier. Selfies too are better on the Reno2. It is the red tint in K20 Pro's images that make it look very bad. And this is where Oppo shines. Selfies, as I mentioned earlier, are lively and have good details as well. Night mode in both the phones performs similarly too. I mean, there is hardly any difference among the night modes of these phones. Having said that, videos is something that the company could have done better, and it's not that the phone has a bad video camera or such. In fact, the company advertises for the phone to have ultra-steady videos, which is true. You get good stabilized videos from this phone, but only in 1080p at 30 fps. You don't get a 4K option here, neither you can shoot videos in 60 fps. And if you had watched our K20 Pro's review, I had praised its video capabilities a lot. I mean, even the videos at 4K 30 fps are so stabilized and have such good quality in them. So this is the one area where the Oppo Reno2 falls behind the competition. Okay, now it's time for me to talk about the performance of this device. And I must tell you that performance is not one of Oppo Reno2's strongest suits. It gets its power from the mid-tier MediaTek Helio P70 chipset. And if you remember, the last generation Oppo F-series smartphones also came with the same chipset, so maybe this time Oppo could have gone with something better. With the Helio P70 chipset, you only get an okay-ish performance. Normal everyday tasks like Messenger, WhatsApp run fine. Opening of light apps is fast, and multitasking 3 to 4 apps won't be any issue, as this one has 8 GB of RAM. However, once you start gaming, you will then see the significant difference between a top-tier chipset and a mid-tier chipset like Helio P70. And although low to mid-tier games on the Reno2 run without any issues, it's high-demanding games like PUBG that has stutters in high settings with HD graphics. The best PUBG gameplay on the Reno2 would be in medium settings, which I think is a let-off considering its price. So obviously, the Reno2 is not the best price to performance mid-range smartphone out there, and this is where the competition has an edge over it with the Snapdragon 855 on the Redmi K20 Pro and the Kirin 980 on the Huawei Nova 5T. Now, talking about the software, the Reno2 runs on Android 9 Pie with ColorOS 6.1 on top. And I like how much improvement this UI has got compared to its previous version. The ColorOS seems better optimized than before, the transitions have gone through improvements, and the overall experience feels better if not the best. Now, the only thing that's missing here is a dark mode, which I think is weird because this phone has an AMOLED screen. At least it could have saved some battery for you. Having said that, you get a good endurance with its 4000 mAh battery. It might sound as if it's the usual 4000 mAh battery, but in fact, the battery life has been very good in my usage. It gave me a full day of battery even with all my gaming and social media. And impressive is the fact that it charges very quickly with its VOOC 3.0 charger. It took about 1 hour and 20 minutes to get charged from 0 to 100%, which I think is very impressive. The Reno2 has facial unlock feature for biometric security done by the pop-up selfie camera, and although it's fast enough, I prefer the fingerprint option instead for security reasons. While we're talking about security, XVPN ensures that your personal data remains secure and anonymous. It offers you 50+ global locations to choose from. And good news is that they're currently offering 50% discount on their annual premium subscription, so do check out the link in the description below to redeem this offer. Coming back to the Oppo Reno2, the speakers at the bottom do a good enough job, although they are not very loud and it's not stereo. The much cheaper A9 2020 had stereo speakers and this one does not, which is again weird in my opinion. So to conclude, I think that the Reno2 is a very good smartphone. Sure, performance, as I mentioned earlier, is not its strongest suits, but other aspects have been very well covered by this phone. The cameras are impressive, the design is one of the best I have seen so far, and it has got a very good battery life and ticks almost all the boxes. Sure, if you want better gaming performance, you can go for the Redmi K20 Pro, but if that is not the case, the Oppo Reno2 can be a very good option. So that was all for the review of the Oppo Reno2. Tell us if you like the Reno2 in the comments below. Till then, I am Pratima Adhikari and thank you so much for watching.